Thank you to Christopher Matthew Spencer in Hollywood, California for sponsoring today's video. I think you've said previously, never ask for a job.
Where did I say that?
It was on one of the interviews.
I love this research. I'm like, when did I say that?
I think it was on one of the interviews that you did. And you just said, never come right out and ask for a job.
Oh, okay. The context helps. So yes.
Sure, you got it. And I find that interesting because, we're all sort of trying to network, but you're right. It is off-putting because then people feel like, oh, well, you don't really like me. You're just trying to use me for a job.
Yeah.
So then what's the right way, because connections are so important here, what's the right way to be ready for the job, but don't necessarily ask for it?
Yeah.
Or are there ways to ask for it?
Right. So when I said don't ask for a job, what I meant by that is when you are doing an informational interview, which means sitting down with someone, asking about their journey, asking about, how they got started. A lot of times I think it's really important to make a connection with that person and leave it there, because that person will, if they're really interested in the conversation, they're going to ask you, oh, what are you into? And at that point, you can share a little bit about what you're into or maybe what you're looking for. But I think that relationships are very important. So you start off a conversation, but you don't necessarily ask for the transaction. That's transactional if I'm just asking you for an opportunity. But you keep in touch with people, let them know that you are interested in what they're doing. And at some point, they will think of you for an opportunity, or it will be the right time to say, I'm looking for an opportunity. Would you be willing to consider me for a role, or do you know of anything? So a lot of it is about timing and making sure that we're looking at each other relationally and not transactional, that we're looking at each other with relation as opposed to transaction.
Sure. It's funny you said that because I just saw a YouTube video that was entitled "Relationships Are Transactional." And I thought, well, yeah, that's true, but I think there's a way to finesse it so that the person feels seen and doesn't feel used.
Absolutely.
So.
I think that we are in a society now where there's so much, we're in a society now where people use each other often. And I think that you can tell the heart of someone very easily by how they communicate with you, how they keep in touch with you. And so you can literally smell on people if they're just around because they want something. So for me, I have always been really big on creating relationships, but I'm also aware that because I've been big about that, I'm also aware that that completely relates to why I'm always employed. Because I'm not down someone's throat asking for a job. I really care about you. The folks that I've kept in touch with through the years, whether it's a Christmas card or reaching out, saying congratulations or get well soon, keeping in touch with people in that way. Because at the end of the day, we're spending hours upon hours with people and becoming a family. So if I'm just thinking about the job, I'm missing all the magic that's there. I'm missing the friendship. I'm missing the relationship. So it's really important for me to create relationships. That's the only thing that I know how to do is build community, build relationships. And from there, opportunities always arise.
And that was something that your mom was big at too. I think you said put parties or whatever, just building a community. And that was part of why you did the pen pal. You were always looking to communicate.
Yeah, I would say, community and communication has always been really big for me ever since I was younger. So, when I was growing up, I moved around a lot when I was in elementary school. And to keep in touch with my friends, I would write letters. And I was 6 and 7 writing letters. So imagine, a 6 and 7-year-old getting a letter, they're probably not going to reach out. So a lot of my friends' parents actually wrote letters for their kids so that we could stay in connection. So I believe that I have always been about communication and connection, really initially out of necessity. And then as I continued to grow, I realized I enjoyed gatherings. My mom always had events at the house. We had Kwanzaa, we had game nights, we had open mics, we had karaoke. And those things and those moments really stayed with me as I got older. So I do all of those things now as an adult. I love it. And it also helps me build community just in general. I'll say being out here in LA can feel being out in LA can be very isolating for people. And so for me, it's really exciting to always build community and create community in that way so that we feel that we're here not just to work, but we're here to have fun and to be folks and to be with our community too.
Sure. What is an informational interview?
An informational interview is an opportunity to have one-on-one time with someone that you are looking to make a connection with. So that's typically for mentees or students, young people in the business who are looking to build relationships. They may study someone, they may enjoy someone's work, and so they'll reach out for an informational interview so that they can learn a little bit more about that person's journey, but that also gives them the opportunity to create connection. So for me, I watched credits through the years when I was young growing up, and I would ask for informational interviews. Really, I just thought their opportunities were cool and I wanted to hear about them. And so I would meet up with someone. I would make sure that I did my research. So let's say that, the person I'm meeting is a Newark native or a Hofstra alum. There's some sort of connection between the two of us beyond their job. And so I would create relationships through that. And that's really how I built my community at an early age, was informational interviews.
And what's the right way to reach out to someone, knowing that a person's usually going to be pretty busy, that you want to sort of do an informational interview with? But what's the right way to do it?
Sure. I would say the way that worked for me and the way that I suggest for people to do informational interviews is to have a really stellar subject line. So I often am very clear in my subject lines when I'm reaching out to anyone so that they know immediately without even reading the email, oh, this person is looking for an informational interview. So it'll say Kristen V. Carter, television producer, interested in reaching out to you, wanting to connect with you. I always say it in that way because it's just easier. Folks are really busy. So I try to make sure it doesn't just say, hi, Kristen, or hi, fill in the blank. I always put my name and what I'm looking for. And I've always felt that that has worked for me.
Kristen, do you remember your first informational interview and what did you gain from it?
That's a great question. When was my first informational interview? I might have been doing informational interviews before I even knew what they were. So, and this was even before television. So I became an entrepreneur at 14. I was in the Goldman Sachs Institute for Entrepreneurial Thinking, as well as the National Foundation for Teaching Entrepreneurship. I won awards through that. But I say all that to say that I reached out to somebody because I was looking for information about their journey as an entrepreneur. So I believe I reached out to somebody at that time. But again, I didn't know those were informationals. So I started doing them at a really young age, really because it was out of necessity and curiosity. And then when I started realizing I was doing informational interviews, I was in college at that time. So I want to say by the time I finished my first internship with BET and realized that I was meeting people whose credits I had seen my entire high school career, I started reaching out for informationals around that time. So I might have been 18 at that time.
And what was your business at 14?
Yeah, so my business at 14 was called PLAY, was an acronym for People Leading for the Achievement of Youth, and it was a mentoring and tutoring program. Yeah.
Very nice. And
Thank you.
Where would you connect people? Can you tell us more about it? That's really interesting.
Sure. So I went to boarding school. So I went to boarding school from 8th grade to 12th grade. And during the summers, I needed some income. And it's interesting going to boarding school. I always was thinking about new opportunities. And I started tutoring my hairstylist's son, actually, in math. So I started that one of the summers, I want to say after my 9th grade year, and then realized it was a business. So I was tutoring that young person. Then I was tutoring someone else's student. I think one of my mom's coworkers had a child that I was tutoring. And so I had a tutoring business my 9th grade year as well as my 10th grade year during the summers. And that's when I made the decision that I wanted to expand that. So I had the opportunity to be in the two I had the opportunity to be in the 2 entrepreneurship programs, Nifty and Goldman Sachs, and I won a couple of awards and seed money through sharing about my interest in tutoring and mentoring, and then it expanded from there.
Very cool. Nice.
Yeah, and also, I feel like that experience being an entrepreneur at 14 really inspired me to be an entrepreneur as an adult and to continue with entrepreneurship. I think just understanding about autonomy, everything about my career has been seeded from the time I was a little girl, you know, loving short stories and poems from a really young age, loving music videos and award shows, loving business and tutoring and mentoring, now doing workshops. Like every single thing that I do now, those things were seeded when I was a young person. So I'm always so really grateful, because you can definitely, like, everything's a full circle moment, because those things, those ideas were really seeded in me at a really young age.
Do you have a favorite entrepreneur that you kind of either read their bio or their biography, or just sort of watched documentaries about them?
My favorite entrepreneur, I could say Beyonce, but but I think there are quite a few entrepreneurs that I'm inspired by. Mostly a lot of people that have different arms to their business. And what I mean by that is maybe you have a main business, but then you also have a nonprofit sector, or you have multiple streams of income within that one business. So you have a production company, but then also like a marketing company and, you know, other things. So my favorite entrepreneur is Issa Rae. I feel like I've been able to witness her journey, not only as a peer, but also as somebody who's celebrating her expansion. I remember when she came out with Awkward Black Girl, and to see how she's been able to navigate this business and now be in the restaurant business and things like that. I'm really, really inspired by her journey and her expansion.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.